Hey guys, Joe here. So, I think my competitor is spying on me with a drone. So today's been a shitstorm. This is like the fourth video I've made today alone, just because of talking about different things, and I'm like, oh, I really should dive into this subject, and then, oh, I feel like shit, and this is what I'm kind of doing about it. Then I had an update about how I felt, and now when I was talking about that, got into this with the drone. So long story short, I sent out this email. I had this custom built program from years ago. It's a fence calculator program. You put in the measurements, like you draw out, your layout, and it tells you how many panels, how many posts, how many gates, like that kind of thing. It'll also tell you how much the shit's gonna cost you. It's gonna tell you what your labor is gonna cost you, and it's gonna tell you what your profit level is. Super helpful, right? Well, legit, like 2 and 3 days after I send out an email, magically the program stops working, and I found out there's malware on my server, which was knocking out not only that program, but this other program that we use for like phone calls and things like that. So that's a little suspicious, right? And then as I'm trying to deal with that shit with like my hosting, and then they're telling me about the malware, which then I have to deal with this other company, which of course that's not like to get the information. Of course I'm having issues giving them that because I'm not like a hosting guy, right? And so I'm like really pissed off about that. And then I'm hearing as I'm on the phone that there is a fucking drone hovering around our our property, right? And which has never happened before. And then at the same time, we thought it was the fire marshal that was coming out, but it was actually like an inspector for like the extinguishers, the fire alarm, I don't think there's a sprinkler system in there, but maybe there is. And so anyway, we thought it was, I'm like, maybe it's that guy, right? So they asked him, and he's like, no, it's not it. But this drone is hovering around, like kind of like going around the property, and then it just stops in the property and then is like right over top of one of my people. So long story short, I really feel like it's it used to be my supplier, but now I say competitor, but like I personally feel like there's so much work out there, so many contractors out there, that they're not my competitor. It's the way I feel. But what I also think that is that, we had COVID, right? And like everyone's business is booming. Now we're kind of leveling off, right? And now what's happening is that we're going back to normal levels, but then like in this area, it seems like it's even slower than normal, right? And so, whatever their business did before, which they're a bigger company. They got like 4 locations at this point, maybe 5. I don't know, 4. I think 4, 5, whatever. And I don't know exact numbers. I can make up something random, but they might be doing like, I don't know. They like during peak COVID, they might have been doing like $40-50 million a year. Just throwing out numbers, maybe 30. I would think at least 30. I would think at least 20 at the bare minimum. At least 20 million a year. It's got to be more than that, though. I would think. I would think between 20 and 40, somewhere around there. It's good numbers. Well, I think what's happening because of again, that was during peak COVID times. Now, like, the business is obviously less because it's not as busy in general. And then on top of that, I think it's much slower than usual this time of year, even before COVID. So if they were doing between 20 and $40 million, I personally think that there might be like a 50% hit right now that they're taking on. Just because, things slowing down, and then we're taking some of that business as well. Not that all our customers are coming from this one person, because stupid me, not really, but there's a lot of competitors in the area. There's like 4 suppliers, like within like a half hour of me. And then when you go out to an hour and a half, like there's probably like a good 8. So it's really, it's a really competitive market. But again, I feel like there's more than enough work. Me personally, especially like these bigger guys are like, it's like astronomically have to be busy, right? But I think between slower plus us bringing in business, that they are either worried or wondering what the hell we're doing. So we had to deal with that. So it is what it is. I just look at it like, if it is the person I think it is, if we're getting to the point where they have to send a drone over our business, then I would assume we're doing something right. Just me personally. So anyway, I guess the thing that something you could take away from this, if anything, would be don't worry about other people. I do think in most any situation there's more than enough work for everyone. It's just a matter of like what you're doing about it, right? And so I always talk about this, like I personally think there's 4 areas within the business. It makes sense to me. I'm probably wrong, but I don't think I am. But basically there's getting people to know who you are, so that's marketing. There is selling those as soon as those people get into your atmosphere. So if they reach out through phone calls, emails, text, contact forms, whatever, the next step in the journey is getting them to convert into a customer, right? So that's sales. And then after that, you got to produce what you sold. So that would be, I'd say production. And then the last thing is really like accounting. But I think it's more than accounting personally, that it's basically knowing your numbers and then also going through and, adjusting, fine tuning and tweaking those numbers to get to what you want to be. So like when I say something like that, it's going back and looking at like, okay, from the supply side, tweaking my numbers. It's not always like everyone's like, I need more work. I don't think that's really the case. I think what it happens to be is, one, you need to work backwards to see how much work you actually need, right? And I've talked about it in different videos, but I'll go through it again in case you haven't seen that video, is that say you want to make $100,000 for yourself for the year. Now, me personally, I would add like 30% in taxes for that, so you really need to hit 130. But in this case, I'm just going to say, actually, I'll leave it 130, right? So after that, just say your business expenses are $390,000. Okay. So now this is not you for the expenses. This is things such as, if you have any like secretaries, office staff, stuff like that. You have, utilities, like shit like that. This does not include, the material to produce the job. This is not the labor to produce the job. It's none of that, right? And then, so once you add those two together, the 390 plus the 130, that gives you $520,000, right? So then what you do is you divide that by 52. So that means you need to make $10,000 in profit per week in order to hit $520,000 in profit per year, right? And then if you have, now then the thing is to know how much that you make from an average job. So in my opinion, take like 20 jobs, right? And then figure out what the average total price is, how much your average, your total labor is, material is, all that kind of shit. And then figure out what your profit from each job is, right? Now this is the direct cost, in my opinion, do it this way. So just say you make $1,000 per job. Well, if you need to make $10,000 a week, then and you average $1,000 per job, that means you need to book 10 jobs per week, okay? So then from there, you can start adjusting your numbers and like kind of moving levers to get to what you need to be, okay? So what do I mean by this? So now, once you know how many jobs you need to book, you need to look at how many leads are coming in and what is your closing percent, okay? So if you have 50 leads coming in and you close 10 of them, that means you're closing at 20%, okay? So in this model, at this point, you need to make sure you have 50 leads a week coming in. Now, if you do, great. If you don't, then you need to figure out a way to get more leads coming in. So that would be more the marketing aspect. So are you posting on social media? Are you advertising? Like things like that, okay? Now, the next thing you need to look at is your closing percent. So if you're closing at 20%, what happens if you tweak that and you're able to get to 25%? It's not a huge jump, it's a little jump. But what happens is you go from closing 10 jobs a week to closing like 12 jobs or 12 and a half jobs per week, right? And again, if you're making $1,000 in profit for each one, that means you're making an extra $2,500 a week, which is an extra 10 or 100 grand a year. That's fun. The other thing that you can do is that you can start raising your prices. Now, just say you charge $10,000, but between materials and labor, you end up with $1,000. Well, what you could do instead is now charge $10,500, okay? So now instead of making $1,000, now you're making $1,500. So you made 50% more profit by only adding 5% to your price. Crazy, right? So now if you kept the same closing percent, you're still closing at 10 jobs per week, then you're making $15,000 per week. That's an extra $5,000 per week. That's an extra $250,000 per year. It's crazy, right? Now you're like, Joe, well, if I raise my prices, then I'm not going to close as much. Sure, but is it really going to be that much of a difference? Maybe you go from closing 10 jobs a week to now you're only closing 8 jobs per week. But if you're closing 8 jobs per week at $1,500, then that means you are making $12,000 per week, which again is still $100,000 more per year without having to do anything else. So anyway, I hope these types of videos help you. It's when I normally go on a ramble. This is what you get. So have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. If you have any other questions, please let me know. If there's anything that you would like me to talk about, please let me know, because I enjoy this stuff more than you know. See ya.